Welcome to our 2020 challenge, the month of March.
Welcome along. Don't forget, we are talking about food, but whilst we're talking about food, exercise is just so important. That's one thing that we should not be forgetting. And the summer months are a great time for exercise, aren't they?
You do love your swimming, don't you?
I sure do. I love my swims, that beautiful dip in the cold water and the swimming up and down the pool. It's fantastic, so refreshing, and it gets you moving. But there's other ways to exercise. You can walk, for example. That's a great way to do it as well.
I love my Pilates.
Pilates. Maybe we do a clip on the Pilates next month.
Be great. And you can do it indoors as well.
You can.
You don't need a pool.
Yeah, with the aircon on, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's been an interesting year, 2020. In January, we started off talking about the fires.
Then we went to the rain and the floods.
And now, this month has just blitzed everything.
The world's upside down.
Coronavirus is here. I mean, this has been incredible, hasn't it?
COVID-19 is something else.
I mean, at the end of the day, who would have ever imagined that something like this can happen on a worldwide scale?
And just within a month, already last month when we did the challenge, there was some talk of it, but it wasn't nowhere near as drastic as it is now.
No, now we can't even fly to other countries. Unbelievable.
So, coronavirus, how does it affect diabetics? Big question. So, people with diabetes are at an increased risk of catching the disease just because their immune system is compromised, and they obviously are more likely to get sick with it. So, from the nursing point of view, we want to make you aware that as diabetics, you may be at a higher risk, so you need to take precautions, listen to the government guidelines. Don't listen to a lot of the social media rumours that are going around, but rely on a reliable source of information.
So, as diabetics, what should we be doing? And we actually have some very clear guidelines from the government. So the first thing is washing hands is a big one. We can touch things that have the virus on it, and if we bring it close to our mouth or our eyes, bang, we've probably got the disease.
So the rule is wash your hands and don't touch your face, but wash your hands for 2 minutes, which can be a very long time actually. So they say sing happy birthday twice through, or I was even thinking today, the ants go marching one by one, something like that, twice through, and by the time you finish that, your hands will be sparkling clean.
Now, one thing with hands, we wash our hands like that, but we often forget these bits in here. So there and the back, that's the key with washing hands, and that's what we've been advised to do. That's the number one step. And how often should we be washing our hands?
Definitely before we eat and before and after we go to the bathroom, or if we've been to a shopping centre or in contact with other people that may be at risk. Definitely after that contact.
As a second step, we've been told to socially isolate from other people. Now, I don't like the word socially isolate because it goes against the grain of how we are. We like to be in touch with other people and associate with other people. So I prefer to look at it this way. When you're around people, which we often do have to be, I mean, you can't just totally lock yourself in a room, try and be mindful about how much distance you keep from people. Now, the guideline is 1.5 metres, and there's a very good reason for that guideline. The reason for it is that when you cough or sneeze, you create droplets, and those droplets carry the virus and they can be inhaled by other people very, very easily, and that's how the virus moves from one person to the next as well. First of all, wash your hands. Step number 2, keep your distance from people. And obviously everything else that you do is logical. So when you bring food home, wash it, make sure that you wipe benches down, make sure that you try and clean things as much as possible around you. Hopefully if you follow those guidelines, you'll be absolutely fine.
Another important one though, if you do get symptoms of any flu or cold, you do need to be more strict with your isolation and wear a mask, preferably if you do need to go out in public.
That's COVID-19. I think we've said enough about that subject. Just be safe. That's all we can say. Be safe. You know what to do. Most importantly, don't panic.
And I think we do need to think about a little bit of positive light at the moment, because so many people are locked in their houses. They're being quarantined. We're not used to being locked up, and we're not getting the sunshine that we should be getting. So there's no reason why people can't go out in their own backyard and get a little bit of sunshine, put on some good music, get some good feels happening, so you can start releasing those endorphins, because that's what keeps you healthy as well. And try and rely on some divine power too, to keep you strong, because sometimes it is out of our hands. So it is good to have something to believe in and to stay strong to that.
Go for a walk or go for a swim.
Definitely. So those of you who did the challenge in February will remember that we looked at how factory assembled foods are killing the human race.
Now, if you have not seen that video, just up top there is a little banner that's come up. You can click it and that will take you straight through to the February video. If you want a refresher, click that link up there and have a look at the February video. But this month we are looking at a interesting subject: hooked, line and sinker. Now, it's a little bit of wordplay here because it used to be hook, line and sinker, and I've added the hooked bit into it, and there's a very good reason.
So how addictive do you think sugar is?
It's a very good question. People actually underestimate this question. There's been a lot of work done in this area over the years. The primary study that first came out that really started to put all of this together was actually in 2008, which is a long way back. So we're talking about 12 years back, and we've actually come to quite a clear understanding as to what we're dealing with. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to share some of the bits of that first study that really got the ball rolling. Below the video, there will be links to these studies, and I'm going to post up a whole heap of studies for you so you can actually click in there and read them. They are studies, so they're not often written in totally plain English, but they're good enough for you to understand. You'll actually get the gist of it, and you'll actually start to understand what we're talking about. So let me read to you some of this study that actually got the ball rolling. So this study was actually done in Princetown. It was done in 2008. It was peer reviewed and it was published in NIH. And they asked a very interesting question. The experimental question is whether or not sugar can be a substance of abuse and lead to a natural form of addiction. Interesting question, right? Food addiction seems plausible because brain pathways that evolve to respond to natural rewards are also activated by addictive drugs. It's an interesting statement. They're talking about addictive drugs now. They go on to say sugar is noteworthy as a substance that releases opioids. Now, we all know the problem with opioid drugs at the moment. It's a big one. So sugar is a substance that releases opioids and dopamine, and thus may be expected to have addictive potential. This review summarises evidence of sugar dependence in an animal model, and 4 components of addiction are analysed. Binging, withdrawal, craving and cross-sensitisation are each given operational definitions and demonstrated behaviourally, with sugar binging as the reinforcer. Now, let me ask you a question. Have you ever binged on anything? For example, pasta, bread, pizza, chips. What about Tim Tams or chocolate? So these are things that we really need to start thinking about when we start thinking about the sugar addiction per se. Now, they go on to say these behaviours are then related to neurochemical changes in the brain that also occur with addictive drugs. You see how they're comparing this stuff. And all they're talking about is our common sugar. Now, in the findings, they said the following. This conclusion is reinforced by changes in limbic system neurochemistry that are similar for the drugs and for sugar. That's what they actually figured out. The effects we observe are smaller in magnitude, with sugar of course, than produced by drugs of abuse such as cocaine or morphine. You see what they're comparing it to? However, the fact that these behaviours and neurochemical changes can be elicited with a natural reinforcer is interesting. And the natural reinforcer is the binging. So that's all very interesting. And this was the first study that actually got that ball rolling.
So you might ask a question, how does the sugar addiction feel?
Good question.
So it's not the long-term hunger we're talking about here, right? We're talking about a true feeling of pure hunger without the addiction. There is a definite difference. And those of us who have done a juice fast or any kind of fasting will be able to relate to that, because you can notice that after the first day or so, or couple of days, that the hunger feels different.
So the hunger difference is very simple to explain. The in-between meal hunger that we all experience on a daily basis, for most people, works on a 4-hour cycle. Now that 4-hour cycle is actually fueled by sugar. That's what makes it a 4-hour cycle. So as that 4-hour cycle starts to come around, what happens to a person is they start to experience what they call hunger. But it's actually not hunger, it's sugar cravings. And the sugar cravings intensify. And as they intensify, there's a level of pain associated with it. Now, the best way that I can describe it from my memories of it, it's a little bit like this. Okay, it's 12 o'clock, I'm getting hungry. I've got to eat. That starts to become the thing that you think about the most at that point. I've got to put something in my mouth. And then by 12:30, if you haven't stopped and eaten, you're actually starting to get a little bit nervous. And by 1 o'clock, your stomach is starting to tell you, put something in there and I am now causing you pain. Now, if you let it go any longer, that starts to develop into a feeling of anger. I've got to stop and eat. And then if you let it go to 2 o'clock, if there's food over there and there's someone in the way, you're probably going to kill them to get to the food. It's this intense desire, increasing desire to put something in our mouth. And the thing we put in our mouth is the thing that delivers the most sugar into our bloodstream. Like we said last month, 1 teaspoon of sugar should be floating around our bloodstream, and we have a Subway foot roll and we've probably just sunk 20 teaspoons of sugar like that into our bloodstream. And it's not the roll that satisfies, by the way. It's the sugar that comes with it that satisfies. That's what lowers that pain level and makes it go away for the next 4 hours, and then it comes back again. Now, someone that is not experiencing a hunger associated with a sugar craving will explain their hunger as just an empty feeling. And if you've just got an empty feeling, guess what? You don't have to eat at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. You can go to 6 o'clock and you're absolutely fine.
I guess the other way of explaining the addiction part is you could be full, you're leaving the table, but you feel like something sweet to finish up with, don't you?
Yeah. Again, adding that sugar into the bloodstream. These are the things that people don't understand. And unfortunately, the problem is absolutely huge in our society. Now, next month, which is the month of April, we've titled the month of April Fully Loaded. And in April, we will start to explore the specific foods and what they deliver in terms of teaspoons of sugar into your bloodstream and in what period of time. you'll be shocked. And that's where all of this starts to make sense to people, and they start putting it together.
Trust you to pick April, which is Easter, right?
That's why it's April. Easter, we go to town on all of those things, those Easter eggs, right?
So what are you doing in March, Pete?
Well, given that we've got this coronavirus issue hanging around, I thought it would be a really good thing to actually really give the immune system a really good boost. So from Monday for that week, I'm doing a straight juice fast. And I'm going to use a lot of greens, which we know are very, very good for boosting the immune system. We'll be putting things into our juices which will give the immune system a really, really solid boost, which I think now is an important thing. And Jo, what are you going to do?
I'm actually going to do the same. I think you can't go wrong with juices. When you go shopping these days, it seems the supermarkets are sold out of all the things you don't need when you're juicing, such as pasta, flour, bread, milk, meat.
Actually, if you go to the shops and you walk around, what you'll find is that the most bought foods are the foods, as we'll find out in the month of April, that deliver the most sugar into the bloodstream. It's pretty interesting,
And
actually.
the quickest delivery.
That's exactly right.
But even if you're stuck, if the supermarkets are closed, which they will not be, we're assured by the government that this will not happen, you can get in the car and drive up to the nearest farms, and I'm sure they'll all be selling their fruit and veggies or their produce, and they'll be more than happy to supply that to anyone.
Absolutely, or a dedicated fruit shop as well. We've got one up the road here, which is great.
About time we start supporting our farmers and our local produce.
Absolutely. Now, I want to remind you of one thing. Please do not forget to subscribe to our channel. So when you subscribe, make sure you hit the bell button, because when you hit the bell button, you'll get all of our latest videos through a notification in YouTube.
So we look forward to hearing what you're planning to do, but I would like to encourage you all to do probably a juice fast this month, because it will boost all of our immune system, which is what we really need, and we'll see how we go from there.
Also, don't forget our Facebook feed. On the Facebook page, you will find the post called the 2020 Challenge March. Make sure you're posting your experiences in there. Talk about how you're going, what you're doing. Ask us questions if you need to. We'll certainly be answering those. Make sure that you get involved with the whole Facebook thing, because it's great to see what others are doing, and it's great to stay in touch with you.
So we really look forward to hearing from everyone, getting our Diabetic Health Clinic group alive again, and encourage each other and support each other, which is very important this time of trouble.
And on that note, see you on the challenge, and
All the best.
goodbye.